And welcome to PressBox's initial Stand the Fan Power Ranking show. I am Luke Jackson, the managing editor at PressBox, and alongside Stan the Fan. How are you?
Luke, I'm sorry I got to do this from my car. We had some major technical difficulties. We lost power at my house Saturday night. That was no problem because we have a generator. And then the generator went out last night at about 11 o'clock last night. So it really throws you off. But I appreciate you bearing with me and doing it this way where I'm in my car.
Absolutely. And Stan had to go through a lot of hoops to get me his power rankings, but he got me the power rankings. He actually dipped into Glenn Clark's show this morning, which I'm sure was a nice, pleasant surprise for Glenn and Griffin.
I kept the writing short because trying to concentrate while Glenn is doing his show,
Right.
you can't quiet down Glenn Clark. He's
That's
got his opinions.
So let's jump right into it. But first,
Yep.
this is brought to you by AJ Michaels. Expert and award-winning AJ Michaels heating, AC, plumbing, and home performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. Now rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. How's that sound, Stan?
That sounds pretty good, and we're really thrilled to have a sponsor of the renown of AJ Michaels and Company going along with this ride during the 26 weeks of the baseball season.
Absolutely. So let's jump into your power rankings. And the first thing that jumped out to me, Stan, was that you had Houston number 3 going into the season. Now, 4 games later for Houston, they're 2-2. You have them down at 5th. And you saw something that I saw as well. I'm watching this Astros team, and this lineup is not as good as I thought it was going to be.
I got to be honest with you. That also had to do with a wager. I took a 5-team parlay on the runs that different teams would score, and I had the Astros. This is on yesterday. The 5th team of my parlay. I won the other 4 teams. The Astros had to score 4.5 runs off of a Mike Clevenger, who had a pretty awful spring in addition to the personal stuff going on, which supposedly has been dropped. But all of a sudden, I see that he's got like a no hitter through 5 innings. And I looked at that Astros lineup and I said, "You idiot, what did you do?" That lineup is not all that impressive, despite the fact that Kyle Tucker and Jordan Alvarez are there, Jeremy Pena is there, but without Altuve there, and over the past couple of years, losing Correa, Brantley is hurt again. They're hopefully getting him back in a month, and there's one other bat that I'm leaving out, but all of a sudden I'm going, this lineup is not all that impressive. So the combination of Verlander not being there and what they're missing offensively, it would not shock me, Luke, if a couple of weeks from now they're barely in the top 10.
Hmm. That's interesting because even last year, when they went on their run to win the World Series, their lineup was pretty top heavy. And Jeremy Pena in the League Championship Series and the World Series was kind of playing over his head.
Yeah, he stole the show.
He
There's no
stole the
question
show.
about that.
And but they had
You
Justin
know who else
Verlander,
I'm leaving out? I'm leaving out Gurriel, who
right?
played some
Who's
first base.
who's playing first base for Miami now.
Yep.
But they had Justin Verlander in the rotation, and the guys behind him sort of slotted in nicely behind him, like Framber Valdez was the best number 2 starter in baseball last year. And then Christian Javier slots in really nicely as a number 3. Now those guys move up a peg, and they're expected to do a little bit more. I don't doubt those guys, but I think they need Altuve. I think that's definitely the case. That they really are going to miss him because he provides something at the top of their lineup that they're not able to easily replace.
Yep. Anyway, was surprised that that's all they got against the White Sox was a split at home.
Absolutely. Now, the Orioles moved from 13 down to 15, and it certainly seemed like they were going to win a series, and Ryan McKenna drops the ball. There were other things that happened in that game. The Orioles could have added on in multiple instances in that game. Didn't get it done. But I was watching the game with my dad, and once McKenna dropped that ball, I kind of sounded the alarm. I said, now he's got to crank it back up again, because when that ball's in the air,
when that ball's in the air, when that ball's in the air falling into McKenna's glove, he's checked out of pitching. Yeah. He's going, I got to save. Second one. And then when the ball falls out of his glove, you called it. You said he's got to re-engage himself, and he didn't do a great job at that. Right. He just didn't.
Right. But was there anything else during the weekend that you saw that was of particular interest to you?
Well, I'd say the one warning thing that we have going on right now is, I don't think we were all that concerned when Dylan Tate was hurt at the beginning of spring training. But then all of a sudden, the last couple of days, hearing that Michael Givens wasn't going to start the season with the club, right now that's turned into, now the focus is on a Michael Bowman, Brian Baker have got to step up. And so far, they haven't really stepped up, either one of them.
And, when I saw the opening day 26-man roster, I was talking with a buddy of mine. I said, what's the biggest issue for them right now? Who's that second right-handed reliever?
Yeah.
And my buddy said, don't be surprised if Brandon Hyde gives Logan Gillespie a shot in that role. And I thought he threw the ball pretty well on Thursday and on Saturday. And he might have been their best looking reliever, short stints, but he threw the ball really well. And I think Brandon's going to give him more of an opportunity in big spots.
I think you hit the nail on the head again, Luke. I think by process of elimination, right now, while they don't have Tate and they don't have Givens, although Givens is in good shape to make a return, probably in 15 days, I'm guessing, something like that. Tate could be well into the month of May before we see him pitch in a game for the Orioles. That process of elimination leads us back to who, Logan Gillespie.
Absolutely. So you also wanted to talk a little bit about the Dodgers, and it's funny because it always feels like sort of the Dodgers are inevitable, so to speak. Trace Thompson had 3 home runs the other day, if I'm not mistaken.
Night of his life. Yep.
And that's a player who they got for cash last year, and has been pretty good with them since then. The Dodgers have a way of finding these little hidden gems, and they've done it again with Trace Thompson. Excuse me.
Well, we'll see how he does over the long haul. But he certainly, that was not factored in when I picked the Dodgers as low as I initially did at 15, not making the playoffs. But I look again, like with the Astros, I don't like what ownership has done there. And I don't know whether they're squirreling away money to make a bid during the offseason, make a compelling bid to pull in Shohei Ohtani or what. But that lineup is, again, Justin Hayward in the lineup, a fading, aging J.D. Martinez. Maybe he's got one last hurrah, but I don't know. Not an impressive lineup. And I'll admit, I don't recall ever seeing Max Muncy at third base, but that seems like a real stretch, having Max Muncy try to cover third base.
No, I absolutely agree. And going into the season, I thought there was going to be a lot on Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith to produce on a nightly basis, because around those guys aren't nearly the hitters that we've become accustomed to with the Dodgers. Now, with that being said, that's pretty damn good middle of the order still. And so
it's still good middle of the order, Luke, but you tell me how many teams are going to let Manny Machado walk, Corey Seager walk, and Trey Turner walk,
and not feel it.
Get draft picks and not be substantially lesser than they were. It's pretty hard to believe. Especially, it would be one thing if this was the Tampa Bay Rays or the Cleveland Guardians. This is the damn Los Angeles Dodgers, man. They print money there.
Right. But it's funny that you say that. They typically don't get into bidding wars for free agents.
No, they don't, but they do pay some of their own pretty substantially.
Yes.
And I think letting a special player like Trey Turner go was really, I was pretty stunned. I was stunned that they were able to pry him from the Nationals in that trade with Max Scherzer.
Didn't give up a whole lot.
Yep. They did not give up a whole lot, and then to have that player for you, playing for you, and let him walk to the Phillies, it was a big surprise to me.
Well, that brings us to the Phillies, who were probably the most disappointing team of the weekend across baseball. And I think the Ranger Suarez injury is a big deal because I'm watching Sunday Night Baseball and it's Brady Falter who's on the mound as their number 3 starter. And maybe the Rangers, with Bruce Bochy at the helm, suddenly look a lot better.
Well, they look a lot better, but that was a staggering loss for them on opening day, even though they won the game. To have Jacob DeGrom, what he made it 3, like it was like a Grayson Rodriguez spring training start, 3 1/3, 3 2/3, and get hit around pretty good. That was shocking to see the box score later on the day on Thursday. But somehow they were able to carve it out and win a 3-game series, 3 games to none against the Phillies. Now, the good news for Philadelphia, though, they seem pretty optimistic, and both Rob Thompson and Bryce Harper himself were on last night's telecast from Texas, and there's some optimism that he won't even miss like 45 or 50 days before he's ready. They have not yet put him on the 60-day DL. They still can backdate that, but they seem to think he's coming along pretty good. I'm staggered by the fact that he might take some batting practice or at least hit off the tee this week.
Absolutely. And it might still be another year of him just as a DH, which
Yeah,
means that you got to play Schwarber in the field. And they're also missing Rhys Hoskins, who wasn't a massive contributor for them last year, but that's a big right-handed bat that fits well in your park that you're not going to have. And this was his free agent year. It's a chance that Rhys Hoskins never plays again for the Phillies.
yeah, there is a chance of that. But they've got this kid. He's not a kid. He's like more like a 26 or 27-year-old, a left-handed hitter who has a pretty good home runs per at bat ratio, and that's Derek Hall.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I'm sure he'll play a lot at first base against right-handers. But
Absolutely.
they're still a formidable team. They had the unlucky thing of losing Suarez for a while, and also the young rookie Andrew Painter, who they think is like probably where Grayson was a year ago, the number 1 pitching prospect in all of baseball.
And I'll tell you what, I think maybe the most impressive team of the weekend, given the competition and given the fact that it took place on the road, probably the Cleveland Guardians, who had themselves a hell of a weekend in Seattle, went 3-1. And this is a rotation, even without Tristan McKenzie, that looks pretty good.
I moved them up a notch. They are quite capable. If Josh Bell really ever surfaces, he didn't have a big spring, and he's off to a slow start, and he's got the further burden of being on my fantasy baseball team. But if
That's tough.
Josh Bell, that's an uphill climb for him. But if he does hit like Josh Bell can hit, they've got a surprising, sneaky lineup. And I'll tell you one thing, that Emmanuel Kloss, I don't know why manager he's been able to handle being owned by me in fantasy baseball.
He's
I
that
saw
good.
him, he's that good. I saw him Saturday night dispense with 3 Mariners hitters in over 8 pitches. It was awe-inspiring, his performance. They didn't even touch the ball.
I probably went to, I don't know, a dozen games at Camden Yards last year, and I usually sit in the upper deck right behind home plate. The most impressive pitcher I saw from that vantage point was Emmanuel Clase.
Yeah.
I mean, the way, how hard he threw that cutter, you could almost like see the ball cut in on left-handed hitters. Pretty amazing what he can do. And without Edwin Diaz around this year, I think he's the top closer in the game.
I think he is too right now, and they certainly have the top manager in the game, in my opinion. I don't think there's anybody better than I started to say Buck Showalter. I don't think, honestly, there really isn't a better skipper in the game than Terry Francona. He gets a lot out of what he's got, and I'll tell you what, that starting rotation, they got a great performance from Aaron Savali Saturday night. He looked just terrific. And that's going to be an interesting series. They float back across. Seattle goes to Cleveland next weekend, and I'm not sure. I don't have my book in my hand, but now I do. Hold on. It's only a 3-game series, but that's another 3 games that they have to play the Guardians. It'll be interesting to see if Seattle can maybe win that series 2 games to 1. And Luke, one of the features I think we'll do each week is give us the series of the week.
All
And while
right.
that's a
That was
compelling
easy. Yeah.
that was a compelling series, but this week we've got the number 2 pick in my power rankings, the San Diego Padres, traveled to Atlanta for a 4-game stand in Atlanta against the big bad Braves, and that's our series of the week to watch. And it'll be interesting to see how the Braves and their young pitchers that are coming along fare, because they just got a terrible loss in Max Fried, who's going to be out for a while. The Braves.
Yeah. And the Braves were my pick to win the NL East coming into the year because you look around at their everyday lineup. Uh, I love it. I love pretty much where they are with every position except for shortstop, and they're all on very tradable contracts. And
Yeah,
because
they've done a remarkable job piecing together this team. My pick for MVP is Matt Olson. I think he's
okay,
going to really.
he's
I
going
think
to drive in a ton of runs.
I think he had some pressure replacing Freddie Freeman last year. I think he knows he fits in there. He's appreciated, and he'll, like you say, he'll have a lot of ducks on the pond.
Absolutely. Stan, any Orioles thoughts going into this series against the Rangers? The Orioles are going to have to pitch and defend a whole heck of a lot better than they did in Boston.
Yeah, outfield defense is going to have to be better. It was unfortunate the McKenna play, but seriously, I'm
There were
not
a
going
lot
to.
of other plays in the outfield that weren't great
Yeah,
either.
there were a lot of other plays. Cedric Mullins didn't look particularly good in center field on a couple balls over his head that
Austin
I
Hayes
thought
had
he
a
really
weird
had a
play in the
shot.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not a good weekend for outfield defense. But that play that really bothered me was Terran Vavra and Gunnar Henderson
Mm-hmm.
getting their signals crossed. And that's one thing when you have all these people playing different positions and you think it's that easy. You know, Terran Vavra probably didn't play left field with Henderson at short during spring training, I'm guessing.
Right.
So we'll see.
And,
It'll be
and
an
they
interesting series in Texas, though.
and Brandon Hyde is trying to break into this starting rotation. He's trying to fit new pieces into the bullpen. You can't ask those guys to get 31 outs a night rather than 27. You know what I mean? And that makes it a whole lot tougher, even though those guys weren't great either on the mound. So there's some things still to work out.
I was not all that disappointed in Irvin yesterday. I thought he got
Tough
squeezed by
break outing. Yep.
a tough outing, gave up a couple cheap hits. No question he gave up that home run to Enrique Hernandez, but he got his pitch count up, and you knew he wasn't going to go very long once his pitch count was 30 after the first inning. But I like him. He's trimmed down. I think he's going to do very, very well pitching for the Baltimore Orioles.
And it was overshadowed, but I didn't love Dean Kramer's outing on Saturday. He got a 7-1 lead and could only scratch out 9 outs.
Yeah,
And
not a good.
he was able to get into some good counts that he wasn't able to take advantage of. And Jim Palmer said it on the broadcast. He's got to trust that four-seam fastball a little bit more. I think he was like up to 96 or 97. He doesn't throw it enough. And he really leans on that cutter. I would love to see him throw that four-seamer. He's got a good one. Throw it more.
Luke, as I prepare for fantasy baseball, I really watch the box scores all throughout baseball. And the old days of sort of building your starters up where by the end of spring training, they'll throw 6 or 6 2/3 or something. Those days are way over. And
Now it's 5.
I don't think Dean Kramer and any of the Orioles starters really are ready to give them the length that they need. And I understand wanting to, preserve your bullets, but you still have to, just like you have to develop a pitcher, you have to develop a pitcher's strength at the beginning of the season and have them built up if you want to suddenly say, hey, we need them to give us more length out of the rotation. It's not easy when you haven't pitched 5 or 6 innings in a couple starts.
Yeah, and we're already at the point where 3 games in, we're wondering, do they need to bring up a fresh arm for today's game? It's like, oh, man, that's tough.
It's crazy.
All
right.
So
hey, we thank our friends AJ Michaels and company for sponsoring these weekly looks at my MLB power rankings. Luke and I will be doing them every Monday, right around 2:30 to 3:00 in the afternoon.
And Stan and I talk baseball every day. We're now just recording it. That's all.
That's all it is. All right, buddy.
All right.
Thanks.